Good morning, everyone. Just making sure mics are on. Perfect. Okay. Sometimes I just I don't know anymore. I think it's on and then I'm talking to myself for a while. So yeah, it's always fun. Anyway, good morning, everyone. It's good seeing the same faces as well. Shows a lot of love and support. And for those of you that are currently on, since you guys are all someone who shows a lot of love and support for me during these videos, not sure if you guys heard about the loyalty program that I started, which is free. But what I'm going to do is add every one of you to have an extra 5 points. So that way, write your names down. You can earn points faster. So, and for some that, since I know it's family and you may not be in the system, such as Carrie, I'll put it under Jamie. And then Jamie gets those said points. So, and again, it's just to earn for free stuff, as I said in last week's video. So, I'm just writing these down. Hi, Kathy. And then the other thing I'm trying, if anything's kind of weird, let me know. I'm actually trying to record this video at the same time so that way I can put it on a podcast for those that have a hard time getting on YouTube and can listen to via podcast on their work. So if things get wonky, just let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to jump into our spirits and see what's being said. I know last week we talked to a lot of people that were already on here. And there is a lot of people around. Next week, next weekend, I'm actually going to communicate with Morgan and my niece Shannon. So it'll probably be a very emotional and a very difficult one as well. But I know Morgan wants to talk to a lot of his friends. So I'm going to make sure I post that out there so that way all his friends know to listen in, whether it's live or, eventually. So yes. All right. So I'm going to get started here. I don't know how long it's going to go. We obviously know this is kind of weird and gets kind of wonky sometimes. I do want to touch base because I see there's some of the people on here that was having the issue around their home. And I want you to know that it feels better when I tune into the energy around your home. I'm not seeing nearly the amount of negative activity and nearly as many problems as I was seeing in the past, and which is a good thing. So the protective Native American spirits that are out there, or in the house, I should say, are doing what needs to be done. You guys are paying homage to them, which is also adding a lot of love and respect. So I'm not as concerned to get out to you as fast as possible. I still want to get out to you just to make sure everything's okay. So I'm going to try and see if we could do sometime in January for me to come out there. At least if it's just for a few hours to make sure everything is good. But I feel like it is. And, so I just want you to know, I do weird stuff in life, not just on video. But as I was looking at my face, now I'm looking at the camera. I kept seeing this flash of red in my eye. And I don't know if you guys could see that or not, but it looks weird. As I'm looking at it now, I still see it reflecting. There's nothing flashing in this room, so I just find it weird and interesting. I know. I do weird stuff all the time. So I was just making sure to see if you could see it. So I'll try and open my eyes a little bit more while I talk to you. Although I say that and then that's it. It's not going to happen. Anyhow, all right. So let's jump into it because I have a lot of impatient spirits right now, kind of being a little, problematic. So all right. So there's a gentleman by the name of Charles here. He is Charles W. is what I'm hearing. And from you guys know, I don't just blurt out names from a privacy perspective. So, but Charles W. he is here, and he's a little concerned for his family. And again, if this makes sense to you, then you would know it's for you. There's also a little kid here, so if I move around a lot, which I know I usually don't do, but this little kid wants to play, so like I feel the need to like wiggle on my chair and move back and forth. Um, Especially because he's standing next to me trying to sway me like on a swing, since my chair has wheels and it moves very easily, so that's why I'm doing that. But anyway, back to Charles. So Charles wants his family to know that there is some changes coming his way or your way, and they'll feel really bad at first. They'll feel stifling. They'll feel like this is not a good thing, and the changes that are making will actually feel as if like you're about to lose everything. And I can understand, based upon what he's showing me, why you would feel that way. But, um, yeah, it's not that it's extremely negative. What it is um, changes that need to happen. And the only way that they will happen is if you are forced into making these changes. And the only way you could be forced to do that is there are some external factors, such as losing a job, that will create that forced change. And the reason that this is important to keep in mind is because we hold on to attachments the way that we hold on to our children. Yet a house is a house, a location is a location, a car is a car. It is not the value that we place upon it, but yet we place upon it the value due to its success and what that status actually represents and means. And so, because of that, it becomes more of a burden than what it's intended to be. So, his family is going to have a huge shift and a huge change. And if you think this might be you, or you're not sure if it's you because Charles doesn't make sense to your family name, you can private message me through my website, through Facebook, through whichever means, and message me and ask if it pertains to you, and I can check for you. Okay. I know with 2020 and the year that we had, there's so much changing, and there's so many people, financially struggling and, worried about losing so much. And when is it going to end? And, and. So, everyone, from a collective perspective, based upon what Charles just said, the spirits are indicating to take that moment. And really, truly, at this point, since we are nearing the end of 2020, thank God, this year has been completely insane. To take that moment and just kind of reflect on what in your life you can let go of, so that way you can save a little bit of money. We don't tend to think of how much coffee adds up, whether it's Wawa or Starbucks. And although, yes, we're supporting those people to be in business, at the same time, we can't support them if we can't financially survive ourselves. So sometimes we have to take a step back just to go take a step forward. So save those couple bucks every day. Make your own tea, make your own coffee, drink some more water, do things that can assist you. And then the second thing too, especially around this time of year, and Charles is specifically wanting everybody to see and understand this. Sorry, the kid's back to pushing my chair again. Is for people to understand Christmas is about togetherness and love. And yes, Santa came about for those that practice, Santa giving, came about because families were poor and could not give a present to their children because they were so worried about food on their table. And, a long, long time ago, a man did actually make toys for children and would leave them. And it would be a very simple toy. It wouldn't be elaborate or expensive. And again, back then, there really wasn't those things, but we've kind of lost our way due to the commercialism of it. And it's not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just let's take a step back and kind of reevaluate some of that giving, because if we eliminate the pressure of buying that extremely expensive thing, um, and turn it into memories that our children would actually know, and actually remember doing, it would be far more valuable than trying to come up with the expensive gift when we already, for the most part, buy our kids throughout the year all the time, as it is. So um, it'll help us all financially, and it'll remove a lot of those burdens. Because as our kids get older, we think, well, they won't need as much, or you won't need to have that big, gigantic pile of presents under the tree. When in fact, although that's true, their gifts are more expensive. So our spirits want us to reevaluate what that means and come up with different ways to provide a gift with an experience. Maybe for some of our older kids, because little kids won't understand that, but yet little kids are happy with a $5, even a dollar, from the dollar store toy. Like they don't understand the difference. But the older kids, starting like 10 and above, do something. They're suggesting something different, such as for every gift they get, have a smaller gift that's worth $5 and put it in a separate pile and say you're going to go donate it to an orphanage or to a hospital where maybe kids are celebrating Christmas in a hospital because of cancer or illnesses or even just neglect and abuse. And that will allow our children to see those aspects of giving, which is what Christmas started to be about, is giving. And I know a lot of people that watch my videos and people that come into my practice, you are all givers. You all want to give every aspect of who you are to humanity, especially to children. And yet we don't necessarily know how to do that or how to find that way. And if Christmas is hard just because it's too much, then instead of a gift, what if you did, they're saying, like a canned vegetable, some food that you can then take to a food pantry together after the holidays, maybe at the end of January, since a lot of people tend to give around the holidays and not the rest of the year. So it's just a way to show our kids a different way of, not only for those that have parents that are not financially struggling to the point of being poor, um, but yet understand that these people, this world exists for a lot of people. So Charles is very, very heartwarmed and really driving the home of how important charity is, but not to get lost in what that charity means. And that we need to start a new generation of children that give, so that way those of us that can't do it anymore, they can start. So lots of great organizations out there as well that looks for volunteers, even just to deliver gifts to um, various people. The Christmas Gala in Bristol, Pennsylvania, they give to the elderly various items. So they're always looking for volunteers that can help drop off stuff as well as donate stuff. So if you're ever wondering how you can give back to a population that is also needy, such as children, the elderly is often forgotten as well, mostly because of where they might be, whether they're nursing homes, whether just life and we just kind of, okay, well, I'll go see them, I'll do this, I'll do that. Next thing you know, they're not there. Or in this case with the COVID situation, we can't go see them, you know, and we can only see them from a window, which for some people gives them an out for going, but yet at the same time, that person, even if they are in cognitive dysfunction, you know, have moments of clarity and probably is wondering when they're going to see their family again. So um, we tend to kind of forget about certain aspects, and it's life. You know, I do it as well. Day to day aspects that turn into a tremendous burden upon people. Um, so think of different creative ways that work for you and work for your schedule. Even, even, all right. So Rose, I'm just gonna say your grandma, Nola, she just said, even if you're just sharing information, she loved to talk. She was a gossiper, and she was a quiet gossiper. So she would only gossip to other women, you know, and obviously that spoke Italian because she didn't speak English very well. But as the gossiper, you know, it shed information out there. So, and not really using the gossiping aspect, like, you know, for example, somebody who necessarily can't save an animal or donate to an animal's money for surgery or whatever. But if you share that information, now others that may be able to help are now seeing that information. And I she's saying that we tend to not want to get into that whole trap of um, chainmail issues and just like bombarding people with stuff. But yet at the same time, certain information is not a chainmail situation. When it's about giving and it's about hope and it's about love and it's about peace, whether it's animals, whether it's people, whether it's children, whether it's any level of, you know, need, support, abuse, whether it's, I know typically, you know, it's females that are in domestic violence situation, but there are men that are in that situation as well. And yet we don't kind of see those aspects. So find local charities that you can assist with even just some donations. She said that she would never give to the Goodwill because there was always a neighbor that could use the hand-me-downs, could use, you know, well, she said she sewed a lot. So she would sew a shirt or a sweater, sometimes made some pants, and she would donate it to a family that might have been struggling in need because they're not working, because somebody got hurt, somebody was sick, and, you know, vice versa. And donating to those people as well as the church, you know, because she was very religious, as you know, but the church and donating things there. So if she heard somebody was traveling, she would collect all the bags that she could so that way, you know, that person had even just stuff to put their dirty laundry in. So thinking right outside the box, sometimes we may not even think of these things because we don't talk to our neighbors necessarily. I know personally, I talked to one neighbor and waved to the other ones. Like, I don't even know my other neighbors' names. And the only neighbor I talk to is one that's directly next to me. Um, and so I see them a little bit more because they're, you know, really close to my driveway. But I've lived here almost 15 years, a little over 15 years, and I have no idea who my other neighbors are, even though they've lived here longer than me. There's only two, maybe three people who've moved in on this street that are new since I've been here. And we've lost our way. We lost our way from community. We lost our way from charity. And we've just lost our way. And it's not out of lack of compassion or concern. In some cases, absolutely. But it's about we're too busy. We spend our entire time focusing on the wrong things. going to work, doing what we got to do, come home, let's clean, let's take care of the kids, let's take care of the animals, do. And yet at the same time, those do's cause us to then be exhausted. And so now we're going to bed and starting the day all over again. And then the weekends, we're trying to catch up on our sleep. We're trying to catch up on our house and, play our apps on the phone, be behind the technology, which, ironically, you're sitting here watching me live today, as I say that, which had the spirits chuckle a little bit. But at the same time, it's who we are as a society. And our spirits and our spirit guides are acknowledging that. And it's easy for them to say all these things because on the other side, they have like all the time in the world. And we don't. So find what works for you. Sorry, I was hearing a bunch of names. Jonathan J. wanted me to say to find what's best for you, for him and his family, is some of his family are retired and have time in the day to do anything that's needed. So those are the people that should volunteer to go deliver stuff and go drop stuff off, or maybe help out at a soup kitchen, or, the physical stuff that needs to happen. That you need to drive to, you need to work, you need to go. But then he said he also has family members on the complete opposite that are on the 24/7, go, and maybe even only has 30 minutes before they go to bed to even think about something other than their life, their world, and everything that's going on around them. In that case, those people, they'll never be able to go somewhere. So he's saying to take that time instead and find something locally that's happening in the community specifically for them, and then post it. Put it out on Facebook, put it out on Twitter, put it out on Instagram, put it out on everything. Put it out there through emails or text messages to certain people that maybe want to be a part of it. And he's saying these are things as simple as people looking for clothes, coats, in the summertime, letting know, and this just popped in my head from, that wasn't John, so that was someone else. Who was that? That was, I don't know who it was, but I'll eventually get to it. She'll pop back in my head, from Mike and Marla's family, his dad. But he was talking about in the local community here where I'm at, near Bristol, actually in Bristol again. So apparently Bristol, PA is a hot topic, even though it's not the town I live in, it's close. That Silver Lake Springs offers over the summertime free lunch for anyone under the age of 18, even if they're not going to camp there. They just need to come and they'll get a free lunch. And they took this up so they could fill that gap that schools were providing for free lunches that the kids don't get because of the summertime. So just posting that and reminding people, especially people with small children that, are home. Because even if, let's say the parent has a little bit of money and doesn't necessarily need a free lunch, what if that 1 week they do and we don't know it, especially with everything that's happened in our society? So there's many things we can do, and sometimes it's just a click of a button within like 5-10 minutes, and other times it's doing things and planning things and going out in the community to do things, that kind of stuff. So just be creative, just kind of think of what those things are. And it reminds me, my son reminded me of something. I found this out after he died. I was asking for people for stories about my son because I'm writing a book. And I could talk about my son in so many positive ways. I'm his mom, so I can talk all about him all the time. But when you hear stories from other people, that not only solidifies what I'm saying, but then also really shines a light on the person my son was. Um, his one friend had responded saying that during my son's active addiction, they had gone down into the Kensington area, which we all know is a very drug induced area of Philadelphia. And while he was down there, they were walking by a homeless person who was wearing just what's it called? Sorry, I can't think of what it's called. Like a tank top and a pair of jeans. And it was in the teens, so it was cold. So this is during winter time and a good winter around here. And he's asking for money. And the kid that was with him was like, I ain't giving this guy nothing, like screw him, basically, kind of thing. But my son took off his coat, gave him his coat, and they gave him $5, which then caused the friend that was with him to think, wow, if Morgan not only can give him his coat, but also give him $5 when he's going to buy heroin, why can't I? So then he gave that $5. And I'm not saying go out there and give $5 or, to, addicts or anything like that, or whatever you choose to do. But it's just thinking outside of the box and responding in that manner. So my son giving up his coat was the most important thing of that. And for him to think that way. I wouldn't have thought that way. I think I would have if I saw a kid, not wearing a coat, I would actually give up my coat. But somebody else, I don't know if I would have thought that way. And so sometimes giving is just about what pops in our mind in that moment that feels right. Even if afterwards you might regret it a little bit. Because in the end, we're still all just struggling in this world, trying to make it work and try and be as loving and positive as we can. Okay, so apparently today's message is all about giving. Never know what they're going to want to talk about or how they want to say it, but find those unique things that help all aspects. All right, this little child is pushing me again. So I'm just going to... All right, let's talk to this little boy because I don't... Okay, so his name is William. His last name, he says, is perfectly fine for me to say it because chances are... those that might hear this that would know who he is would love to hear his full name. His last name is McKay, and he died when he was about 8 years old. And when he died from a rare form of a blood condition. And so he was really, really not able to kind of have a good life because he got sick around the time he was like 3 years old. And then from that point forward, he then changed into a more serious blood condition to a point where it has shifted and changes into what ended up taking his life, because it wasn't just then that blood condition. It turned to be every type of thing that could occur and could happen would end up being a huge issue for him. So a slightest cold could have killed him. And it was a trifecta of things that at the end took his life. It was a form of bronchitis with a combination of chickenpox and a slight sinus infection. And because of the blood disorder, those three things took him out. So he was about 8 years old when he died. And this, he's telling me, was about 1970-ish. And he is from the Philadelphia area. So he is kind of local. Very sweet kid. Because of his illness, he always stayed a true little kid at heart, which is why he keeps pushing my chair around. And he wants his family to know that they did everything that they possibly could do for him in the condition that he was in. And at the time, this particular issue was definitely not curable in any way. And Nowadays, although it's not 100% curable, it's managed so that way other things wouldn't kill him, will kill the people. And so he ends up becoming more and more helpful in the world. So again, this giving thing. And he's taking on the role of assisting others whenever, especially children, whenever they're stuck in a hospital bed or trying to see life for more than what it is when the situation is very dire. And so he moves objects. So at home, in his home with his mom and his dad, who unfortunately are divorced at this point, um, he moves things around all the time. He makes the curtains move, and there's some wind chimes in mom's house that she has by a window that he makes move, and she always wonders if there's a draft that's like pushing it. But that is him, and he just is trying to bring a little love and cheer into your world. Because, and this is interesting because I was literally just thinking this myself. Do you ever heal from losing your child? And, instantly, I'm sure everybody on here and listening and watching would say, absolutely not. There's no way you could. And he said that it depends. Sometimes it is a matter of not being as painful. It's still always there and there'll always be a trigger, but it's not as painful. But then there's others where it is painful all the time and never fully goes away. And there's no secret to it. There's no recipe to it. It's how we're feeling and whether or not we deny it or whether or not we embrace it. Which brings in, he's so cute. He's a little blonde haired little boy too. Like he's the cutest little thing. Um, sorry, he just told me a joke. He said, "What does the dinosaur say to the other dinosaur?" And so of course I said, "What?" And he said, "Don't you wish there was more dinosaurs?" I mean, little kid jokes, right? Anyhow, so he's really funny. He's a sweet kid. He's trying to do his best in the world. But it's important, for family members that have lost a child, even siblings, aunts, uncles, anybody who's lost somebody that's out of the natural order, for sure. But then even, our spouses, our mothers, our fathers, our aunts, people above us, like even, our grandparents, say their names when you're talking to somebody. And when it comes to children, absolutely, it's going to hurt and it's going to be sad. But say their names. Their names are important to the people that are still alive and still think of them often. There's actually an organization out there called Say My Child's Name. And for those of you that have lost a child, you can reach out to them and they will send you one of those rubber band bracelets or a lanyard to hold stuff, IDs, things like that for free. Saying the name is extremely important. So William, I thank you for sharing all this wonderful information with us. Okay, so I saw quickly on here, Mari was looking for a reading. Yeah, Mari, let's talk about you for a second here. All right, you got a lot going on. You are sensitive, so I'm just going to put that out there, and you need to learn the white light. You got to push some spirits away. You got to get control of it, because otherwise it will make you feel like you're losing your mind and going insane. So there's a video on my channel. You should be able to find it very easily called White Light, and that will teach you how to control the abilities. But you still would need to actually decide if you ever want to do anything with them. But I want you to know you're not bipolar. You are empathic. And because you're empathic, you will feel what other people are feeling. You will have emotional mood swings. You will have physical pain that comes out of it anywhere and everywhere. It comes from those that are alive and those that are dead. So he's still pushing my chair, just so you know. Um, you will absolutely feel alone in this world and feel like you're not loved. You are. It's just hard to feel it. And you will also choose people to be in your life, whether they're partners or friendships, that may not be the best thing for you. Once you get control over your spiritual abilities, those things will shift and change. So get control. And then once you do, you will find it's easier to navigate decisions. It's easier to control your moods. The people in your life that should not be in your life, and those are the people we tend to have that instant ugh when we see their text message or their call come through. They will fizzle out, even if it's a label such as a family member. That doesn't necessarily mean they'll be gone, but you'll be able to tolerate them a little bit better because you won't have the other friendships in your life that doesn't serve a purpose right now. The other thing specifically, and I keep hearing it's grandma on my mom's side. She wants you to keep in mind that when you feel like you're making the right decision, you need to bubble yourself and put a bubble around you of protection and then make that decision. Until you actually do something with your spiritual abilities, it doesn't matter what you do or how you do it or where you go. It will always feel like the wrong decision, even when it is the right. And the rights will always, or the wrongs will always feel right, is what she's saying. So navigate things a little bit differently and it will help you. The good news is I don't see a lot of negative energies around you, which is awesome. It's just a lot of spiritual activity. So let's get it under control and calm down. And then at that point, if you decide you want to do something with it, you would be very good with energy healing, especially when it comes to animals. You're very sensitive to animals. Animals trust you. So if you wanted to get into energy healing, specifically with animals, Reiki healing for animals, dogs, cats, at a vet, even horses, then that would be something that you would thrive at and would take you to places not only that would fulfill you emotionally and physically, but also financially, which, and again, we all want to be financially successful. Not all of us want to be rich. We just want enough to pay our bills and give out to charity as well as go on vacation. And that is a perfectly acceptable goal. But for you, it's 10 steps forward, 100 steps backwards. And the 100 steps is because of those spirits. So let's change that. We all have moments of a few steps forward and a few back. But when you have spiritual abilities, it's 1,000 times worse. So, know you are loved, even if you don't feel it. And trust me, I understand what that feeling feels like. You are loved, not only from those that are around you, but those on the other side as well. And once those abilities are under control, you'll start to feel love as well and not feel like you're just being taken advantage of all the time. Also in January, I'm being told on January 21st of 2021. Oh, isn't that interesting? I just, hold on, 01/21/21. So look up the spiritual meaning of 21/21 because that's going to be important for you that day. And I'm seeing a huge energy shift for you. Not only physically, because you are still part of this world, but also spiritually. And there's a wonderful opportunity coming your way that will embrace not only your natural abilities, because I know you're going to white light, and by that point you'll have control, but then also from a financial perspective for employment. So that's a huge, significant day for you. And so let's get prepared for that. And you get prepared for that by getting them under control. Once they're under control, you can do whatever you want with them, but at least get them under control so that way those spirits can stay back and stay away if you choose to do anything with them. But then also if you do choose to do something like I do, Having that control just means you have peace on your downtime and you're not communicating 24/7. Even though it's always open, there's a difference between the door open for business and the door cracked and things are just coming through naturally. So keep in mind for that date, that's going to be important for you. Okay, next, let's go to, oh, there's Arlene. Arlene. So I keep hearing spiders on the other side, so I'm not sure if he passed and that's a nickname. I feel like he passed and I just didn't hear, you haven't said something because I know who this Arlene is, although I don't talk to her. I see her postings on Facebook from time to time. But Spider wants me to tell you that the balance that you're feeling within your life is weird, and you feel like it's about to drop because nothing can stay this good or this easy for this long. And yet at the same time, you have shifted into a different perspective because of all the things that has happened in 2020. And just embrace it, just accept it. It's there, it's important, it's going to stay that way as long as you're choosing to allow that balance to be there. And it's interesting because, as I said, well, what is the balance and how did she do it, kind of thing, because I know you're going to ask that. And yet at the same time, he's saying the balance for you, and everybody's balance is a little bit different based upon their life and the people in their life and what they put as a priority versus what they don't. Those that don't do self-care enough for themselves, I am one of those people. The balance is always struggled. It's hard. But for you, you have shifted into doing more self-care for yourself, as well as not putting expectations on your family, your husband and your child, that you have surrendered in a way to whatever's going to happen is going to happen, because it can't be any worse than what's already happened. And as long as everybody is alive and well, then nothing else matters. It's no big deal. So because you embrace that aspect of yourself, everything feels different and everything feels weird. But yet it's all positive and it's all good. So don't lose those feelings. Don't change that feeling. Just kind of be. So he's your biggest supporter on the other side. You guys had a great friendship. You never judged him. You're not one to judge people in general, at least for the most part. But for him, because of the life he had and the rough life that he had, he was tended judged a lot. So he's very appreciative that you never judged him. Also, your dad says hi. And mom. And grandma. And grandpa. You have a lot of people over there. So there's a lot. Okay. Next. Let's see what time is it. All right. I just kind of had to refocus myself here. Because they're starting to back off, so I had to check the time. All right, so spirit-wise, collectively, they want to talk and kind of end up on the giving side. They started with it, they want to end with it, because they don't want people to hear this and then go, well, I'm not doing enough if I'm not giving. I'm not doing this, so I'm not doing it right. That's not what they're referring to in any ways. Some people can give, some people can't give. Some people find unique ways to give, and that is awesome. Others, it's hard to be creative like that and think outside of the box, and that's okay too as well. We can also give by not being judgmental, by not being the word's right there, but I'm not hearing the word. So I'll get to it. By not being someone who is extremely negative to everybody around us. When we become judgmental of people, we lose the sight of perspective that we don't understand what's going on in that world. That person could have just found out someone died that they cared about, or maybe they had to put their pet down, or maybe they lost their job, or that they got a call that their husband or wife, the spouse, significant other lost their job. And so they're driving distractively, and they're, cutting people off and just not really paying attention. And so our first reaction is to judge and freak out. Like, what are you doing? You almost hit me, you almost this. And yes, that's a real threat and a real existence when we're talking behind a wheel. But if we can just take that moment in that, even if it's afterwards, and just let it go by saying, you know what, I don't know what you're going through. Maybe you're going through something, and that's okay as well. So sometimes giving is just not being judgy, by not being problematic and thinking that our way is the right way. Seeing a different perspective. That's the word that someone was trying to use. I wasn't hearing. The perspective of somebody else may seem wrong, and it might be wrong, but is it? Because it's what they're perceiving in that moment. So sometimes giving is just about surrendering and letting whatever is going to happen, and just breathe through it, because unless it's going on in this exact moment of time, we cannot change anything. Everything then is in the past. All we can do is change how we respond to it, and how we can avoid being that way or responding that way in the future if it's going to happen again. Now, granted, there are things that we cannot control. And there are reactions we cannot control. But how long we hold on to them, and I'm talking to myself as well as I hear this, I hear them loud and clear, can change. And when I say hold on to them and talking to myself, I'm referring to my son and the pain that I feel, especially during certain things. If I do not surrender, then I'm not happy, and I will have pain again. So find what's right for you, and what makes you feel good, and what makes you feel your best. And for some of us, it is doing nothing and sitting inside the house all day. That doesn't mean they're depressed. That doesn't mean they're suicidal. It doesn't mean that they're lonely. It's just how they recenter themselves. And I would challenge most of those people who are that introverted that they probably have abilities. And they just should try and white light themselves just to see if they feel different, and things change. White light doesn't have to be just for people with abilities. It could be any person out there that exists in this world right now. Because we all get affected by energy. Energy is everywhere. All right, so with that, we're close to the time of the hour, so they're backing off of me. Just a reminder, next Saturday will be a conversation with my son. My son wants to say a lot of things to a lot of his friends. And my niece will also be on us joining the call. The call, how that came out, joining the session. And there's some things that she wants to say to her siblings and her family, as well as just be a support for Morgan and a big support for me, because I'm sure that's going to be extremely challenging and extremely difficult. But apparently it's what's important, especially since it's the day after Christmas. And I will say to everybody, this will be the first time this has happened where they want to specifically talk. My son did communicate with his friends, and we had an in-person session shortly after he died, about a month after he died. So this will be interesting, to say the least. So it was nice seeing some new people out there come through. I appreciate you joining, and until next week. And then if anybody else has something that they want information brought up or would like me to talk about, please tell me and I will get that in there. But yeah, and through the new year, we're going to do readings from the other side because the holidays are important and it's what we need to hear right now. So Until then, everyone stay safe, enjoy your weekend, and you guys will see me next week.